Okay.
Count us up.
1, 2, 3.
Ooh, yes, yes.
Oh.
Wow. Wow.
Wow.
Very good. Very good. Very good. Well, would you like me to do the honors, or you want to?
Yes, I'm Eugene Edwards.
Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. That can't be right. Well, welcome you guys to yet another episode of Two Guys, Not So Much with Guitars. Because in the place of Eugene Edwards today, who is handling some tax difficulties, I'm sure, we have the wonderful, the illustrious, the lovely Angela Petrilli.
Oh, thank you. I know, it's so good to be back, and
Yes.
thank you so much for having me be a part of this today. I'm so excited.
It's wonderful. And we have a live studio audience. Go ahead, folks. Let them know you're here.
Clap.
Yeah.
All right.
Good. And then, of course, as our guest today, we have the equally wonderful, illustrious, not more, talented and multilingual, potentially. I'm not sure.
Ooh.
We'll find out.
No, not really.
Okay, but not that.
I'm gonna
But
scratch
a lot of the other
that
things,
question
a
off
lot
the
of the other
list.
things.
Damn it.
The Charlie McCord, folks.
Well, hello, everyone.
Oh, Charlie.
Yes.
All right, so and yes, we're really lucky to have Angela here. I'm going to turn it over to Angela, and we're going to talk guitars. We're going to talk your guys' questions.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about the best chewable dog toys that have a long durability, and a lot of other things that are pertinent. Yeah.
All important stuff to talk about today.
Absolutely.
Very lovely.
Thank you.
Well, so Dr. Dylan passed it on to me, and I'm going to pass it on to you.
Okay.
Yes.
So, Charlie, solo artist, you're in an awesome band. I was listening to the music
Oh, yeah.
on the way here.
Thanks.
Tell us a little bit about how you got started in music and playing bands and writing songs and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I just always I started playing guitar teenage, like most people, I guess. You know, you kind of like looking for something fun to do, and
Yeah.
you know, when you're like 12, 13, you're like, okay, play some guitar. I had a brother who was playing drums at the time, so actually, I took drum lessons first, which is probably a unique thing. I don't know. You guys ever taken drum lessons before?
I'm a drummer in my head. So.
I don't believe in drums.
Air drums?
Yeah, I don't believe in them.
Do you need
I just don't believe in any
action?
drums at all.
No.
Air drums, I kind of believe in. Yeah.
Like you don't believe they exist, is what you're.
Prove it.
Have you seen that thing where it's like actually air drums and you have sticks and you put a thing
Yes.
on your foot?
Oh, I haven't seen that.
That's what I'm
Oh my
convinced
God, you
all
gotta look it
drums
up. Yeah,
are.
it's hilarious.
Yeah.
No, well, anyway, so immediate sidetrack.
Sorry about that. Sorry about
The
that.
first of many in
Yeah.
this hour of the
that-
program. Yeah.
Hopefully. But yeah, so like that was sort of my introduction into playing music, and then my brother started a band, and he had his guitar player, and he had one of these, you know, the Boss multi-effects units, like
Yeah.
the GT6 or whatever
I
they're
do.
called.
Yes.
And he made all these weird sounds, and I was like, I need to do that.
Right.
That's my world.
Right.
I need to make the weirdest possible sounds. And I thought the guitar was the way to do it. Essentially, is why I picked up guitar.
You know, that's funny because I had a brother who played drums as well, who still does play drums, and I think I might have picked guitar out of spite.
Right.
Also because you can practice it whenever you want. The drums do have an advantage, being that they piss everybody off
That is
lives
fun.
around
They
you.
do.
So
Yeah.
that's something to consider, guys, if you're thinking about picking up the sticks.
It's a matter of control.
It's a matter of control.
Yeah, if you want to
Mind
mind control your neighbors.
controlling them and compelling them to anger, unlike any other thing may be able to do.
Yeah.
Anyways, carry on. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So I mean, that's like the the early start of it, and then immediately I sort of was drawn to songwriting and like creating my own music. Like I know, you do your early homework, you learn your Nirvana riffs and your Rage Against the Machine and maybe your Led Zeppelin riffs and like all the the normal stuff you got to learn as guitarist. But as soon as I could, I was like, I'm gonna take the 3 chords that I know and try and make something out of it.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know? So that was like what kind of has always kept me on a learning journey. I feel like most people kind of need something, and songwriting was always that kind of for me.
That's great.
Angela's like a renowned songwriter.
Oh boy.
As well. Charlie, you have an EP coming out, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I've been working on it for so many years. But yeah. So it was one of those things. I had the songs maybe like 5 years ago, or maybe even more by now. But I started recording them with my buddy Dominic Thoreau, who's, you guys might know him. He's an amazing bass player out in LA.
Yeah.
But started recording little chunks of it, and I didn't do what a lot of kind of pros do, is to kind of just get a band together and record it in the studio and knock it out in a couple days.
Yeah.
I sort of like more of a bedroom writer or producer in that sense, where you can kind of like, okay, I'm gonna do the scratch demo at home, and then take the scratch to a drummer and have them do this, and sort of piece it all together over, it took, most of it was done in like 2 or 3 months, and then so the pandemic hit, and whatever other sort of blocker I want to put in my
Right. I have ingrown toenail.
Yeah. Anything I can come up with to put it off, apparently, is what it was.
Those things are difficult. Yeah.
But now I sort of felt the urge to kind of finally wrap up a lot of the songs and make sure it like actually gets into the world at all. So that's kind of where my head's at.
What do you think it was that made that turn for you? Like, okay, now is the time to release this, and this feels right now.
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, I think it took a long time. It wasn't just one thing. Like for me, coming out of like the pandemic slowdown, shutdown, whatever you want to call it, like I didn't want to play. I didn't really feel like picking up the guitar that much. I didn't feel like writing, and I sort of did put a little tricks on my brain to get me to be motivated. So the couple of things I did that really worked for me was I took 2 guitars, put one in open E and one in open G, and I had never really messed with open tuning at all before.
Wow.
Ooh, I love this.
And then all of a sudden I was like, new riffs coming, because I didn't know it that well. So you're kind of just automatically like, oh, this is what open E sounds like, and I can just like kind of pull something up. And
does it feel like a harmonica when I play an open string guitar? Like when it's always a chord. You go,
Right. Yeah.
No matter what you do on it, you're always. So same thing when you tune a guitar to open.
Yeah.
It's,
everything I do, it's a G chord, and if I put one extra note, it's G plus this note.
Daniel, would you say, is that fair? Can I say that?
What's that?
That open string guitars are like harmonicas.
Sure. Yeah, I could.
Can you ask the internet about that, or chat GPT and get back to us?
It's a friendly like 1 4 1 4 1
Yes.
4 1 4.
And it's same concept.
Just-
Maybe not quite.
This is interesting.
Yeah.
And it's cool too. It's humbling. That is so interesting that you say that. It's so humbling because you are constantly students of the instrument.
Yeah.
Totally.
You know what I mean? So you go and do something like that, and it's almost like, have you heard like how the heart, if like one vein is blocked, how the heart will build another.
Yeah. Another thoroughfare.
I feel like it's the same sort of thing with guitars. Like, okay, I know how to do the standard tuning thing, even though constantly we're all still students of that too.
Yeah, sure.
And then you go and put something in an open tuning and your brain completely flips. Like, how can I now get from A to B? I know how to do it in standard, but now how do I do this?
Yeah.
So what was that like for you in terms of songwriting and like those riffs coming to you? Did you find like you were doing a lot of the similar shapes? Were you finding new shapes? Like, what was that like?
Yeah, it was a lot of new shapes. I felt like I did look up some like Keith Richards and some other people who kind of use those tunings to kind of get inspiration. Just keep an ear out, listen to it, and like how are their riffs different? But yeah, and it was kind of just like a trial and error thing, Like I was like, does this sound good? And then it didn't, or it did, and I kind of went with it. I kind of used. You can kind of almost imitate it if you just kind of play your middle 3 strings. That's like your open G almost, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then. So that's kind of the basis of where I used, like, okay, I know those, and then if I throw an extra note below it or above it, then it's going to be different than what I would normally be used to. And these songs that for this EP aren't necessarily from that time of writing, but either way, it kind of led me to just try and be more productive and try and be more musically active in general because it was inspiring.
That's really neat. Do you do anything like that? Like just try, if you find yourself in a rut, is there anything just to kind of put the fire on again?
You know, I met Charlie working at Fender, and we both worked on Fender Play for a number of years. And it's like when you're playing guitar for a living, as all three of us do to some extent, you know what I mean? It's like it's like being in any relationship where you're trying to figure out a way to stay in love with the person.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily that you're falling out of love with them. You're just, you know that there's love. It's just you're like, I don't feel the fire, though, you know, and the motivational fire. And so you're looking for novelty as a route to that. And
Right.
I think that's what I find myself. Oftentimes you need to cultivate at least a couple times a year is a novel approach to guitar. And so that's really, in order to sort of create, I noticed that if I'm like, wow, am I depressed or do I not want to play? Or is it that I just need to find something novel as a route to playing? And that seems to work over and over.
This is really interesting. And in the comments too, folks, if you guys have ways that you spark the fire again, we want to know.
Yeah, I need to read up. I want to read up on that. For
Yes,
for next time.
absolutely. Because then it helps all of us, really.
Absolutely.
I know with me, with my EP, like I had 3 songs written and I still needed 2 more to write. And I'm like, well, I know what's going to help with the fire under my ass. So like, hi, Sunset Sound, let's book the date right now.
Pick a date, pick a deadline.
And that's what I did. Because for me, it's like, I need a deadline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need a deadline. And that helped,
Yeah.
at least for me.
So maybe that's a big thing too, is if somebody's out there that's wanting to learn or get better or, you know, because this applies to us in things that we're not good at.
Accountability.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like I had to go buy flowers the other day.
Yeah.
And I went in and you know, they're like, so which type of flowers do you want? I was like, well, Mother's Day flowers. And they're like, excuse me? Which genus species would you like? And I was, Mother's Tisdeist flower, you know, like
They're like, oh, yes, this one over here.
yeah, because
yes.
they're dead serious about what they're doing,
yeah.
and I have no idea.
No
So
idea.
there's like a lot of things I don't know anything about, but these principles apply across the board to all interests. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Even flowers.
Charlie,
Sorry, Mom.
what got you interested in songwriting?
I don't really know for certain. I think it was either that I had an aversion to learning like full songs of other people's, you know, like I wanted to just learn the Green Day riff, you know, the ones. You know, I just wanted to learn that and I'll be done. I don't need to learn the whole song. Calm down. And I just, and so my other side of the brain went to songwriting. But also, you know, my brother was in a band, like I said, and they did originals, so that was inspiring. My dad was a songwriter as well, so he sort of, you know, is someone who I looked up to once I was old enough to kind of like respect that sort of craft. But I think it was the more fun way for me to learn guitar. I think, you know, it was like. I didn't necessarily. I did spend some time sitting there learning the scales and things like that. But like, what I wanted to do was sit there and just come up with a stupid riff, you know, that I could play super loud and annoy my neighbors and family.
That's the power of riffs, man.
Yeah.
That's I know that's what really hooked me in too, because it was Nirvana for me. It was like some of the first stuff.
Oh man.
Yeah,
that
they're like
learned,
motifs, little motifs.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's why playing bass is so fun too, because it's riff central. You're never like accompanying in a sense when you're playing bass. You're almost always playing a riff, even if you're just going. You're still like you're dominant as all get out.
Yeah,
you know, and it's really the totalitarian's instrument.
Ooh, this is a great question here from Darren M. Charlie mentioned learning Nirvana, Rage, Zeppelin riffs early in his learning experience. For a beginner, would you recommend learning blues before rock or vice versa? This is a great question.
Ooh. Yeah.
Is that going to me?
Yes.
I mean, I like what's nice about some of the rock stuff is that it's super, super easy. Like if you take, I mean, not the Led Zeppelin necessarily, but like the Nirvana stuff, like that solo, Teen Spirit solo is like that. Like I was like, I can play a guitar solo, and you're what, or like the Man Who Knows the Word.
Right.
Like that's so easy. I mean, like, you know, obviously I'm speaking as someone who's played guitar for a while, but like, when you're first starting out, that stuff is easy. Like how easy? Like that's and then
don't go there, man.
And then you're like,
don't do that to me.
Yeah. So it's I feel like for me it's rock, but I think that's also partially just my my like of music. Like I do love blues, but it's not where I grew up listening to. So I don't know. I feel like you're like the blues champion here.
Thank you. I have to say my story is very similar to yours. Yeah. It was the Nirvanas and the Rage and the Pearl Jam and the whole K-rock. As a kid, growing up, it was rock first. That was the stuff like when Incubus came on. Like I'm like I need to know how to do that. And it wasn't until later, really, honestly, till college, where I'm like, wait, because my dad listened to blues a ton, and just like all that kind of bluesy, like, oh, well, that's a kind of cool shape. I can figure out how to do stuff from there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was like when I wanted to start learning solos, I kind of like, okay, I can listen to some blues and learn those pentatonic and blues scales, and that's when I feel like for me it was like, let's learn some blues because I want to like take my playing to a little bit more of a thoughtful level or jam more or solo more kind of.
It's a good first step because again that's what builds like rock and roll. The foundation of rock and roll comes from that.
Totally.
And you listen especially to a ton of those Rage riffs. Oh my gosh, it's super blues. And Zeppelin, super bluesy.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
Zeppelin, I love them.
Me too.
I think Zeppelin to In Living Color to Rage Against the Machine is exactly the correct progression. Like, it was Zeppelin, then In Living Color, then Rage Against the Machine. Because when you hear "Look in My Eyes," the whole riffs off of that whole thing, like you hear like Rage Against the Machine, just an early formation of it, about to be Rage, and then. But what you guys said that's so cool is so. I actually started learning by classical guitar just because I'm so old that's actually what was
that was the only music that was existing there back then.
Would you like to learn to play? And so I think what happened was, and so no, but the thing about learning the blues is, it narrows the focus of what progressions you're gonna face, and rock was blues based initially and then became a lot of things, right? But the blues narrows the focus to a pretty common chord progression, which is a cycle. And once you figure out that music is built of cycles, then you pretty much have popular music done. Like you've got it scoped out almost entirely. And so the only time you pay any attention to something is when it doesn't play a cycle. And by cycle, I mean, 3, 6, 2, 5, 1.
Right.
Or some variation of that with tritone subs and blah, blah, blah. But that's the upside of learning blues is if you want to like demystify all of popular music, you can do it with that because it's narrowed down to a 1-4-5 progression with certain alterations. Then when we get to rock, we start stepping out into all different styles, amalgamating into one thing.
But that makes sense because you're taking like the blues is one progression and it's like one repeated section, and then you think of like a rock or pop song, like you're saying, it goes verse. And that's going to be a repeated 4-measure progression, maybe.
Right.
And then you go to the chorus, and that's a different 4-measure progression, just repeated. And then that's your form. You repeat it and repeat it and you repeat it.
Very linear.
Yeah. So it's linear, but you're still doing a form, and that's definitely something that when you're learning about songwriting, you got to figure out pretty quick. Like, okay, obviously it can't just be like chords going on and on forever.
But maybe one of the coolest things about Led Zeppelin, and I think we could argue that they were trying to do escapism in their music using like Tolkien, references and things like this. Just because post-war Europe sucked, apparently. I don't know. I wasn't there. But again, I'm very old. But like but the concept was they didn't follow a lot of formalistic equations. They covered a lot of blues songs. But,
the whole first album.
Exactly. But but when you get to their stuff, some of it that they're most known for, it's actually not formalistically driven at all. In fact, it's closer to a classical composition and through composed, like let's say Kashmir or Stairway to Heaven or something like that. So when you take away those walls, I think as a learner, it can be like, wow, so this is overwhelming. There's just endless possibilities here.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's narrowing the scope of what can be done first and then making it wide.
Love that.
Yeah, that's a good point. The blues is your first step to a form.
Yeah, it's a pellet gun.
Yeah.
before you get the real deal.
It's good stuff. That was a great question.
Yeah.
Great question. Ooh, we're going to continue on this songwriting thing. Darren M. also asked here, songwriting question, what comes first, the music or the lyrics?
Oh, Darren.
We'll pass this one around the table. Go ahead, Charlie, first.
For me, I do both separately sometimes, but for songs that end up coming to be a finished song, usually the music starts first for me.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I do like to make sure I spend time just like stream of consciousness writing, like just for words, and I feel like that helps you become fluid. It's like probably how if you're a rapper, you freestyle a bunch and you get so loose and with your being able to just come up with words off the top of your head that when you need to write something, it comes easily and sounds good and is thoughtful. So I do like the words as practice by themselves, and then usually if something, I don't know, it's harder to take words and just put music to it for me.
It's tough, and I agree. I know for my newest EP, that was something I wanted to push myself because it was uncomfortable. The majority of the songs, the words came first.
Oh.
And it was quite, because I was so used to in my previous band where the music was first. And this time around, only one, really, well, maybe two, where the music came first. It's a good, again, talking about that brain thing, similarly to, having the guitar in an open tuning, where, okay, we flip the narrative and we try this. And what kind of words, let me try and tell a story and then see if I can tell a story through notes.
Yeah. Because you're forced to paint the picture that are in the words already. When you're writing the music to it,
right? Yeah, because you're thinking and even a lot of those, Renaissance. We're going back to your
my era.
Those Renaissance painters where they would, they would get the charcoal and they'd have the drawing and they would, it would be a bunch of holes and they would charcoal the scope of the drawing and then paint it over it. Whereas someone like Caravaggio just went and just did it.
Yep.
And who was equally incredible. I love art and stuff, especially Renaissance art. It's a favorite of mine. But it's funny to try, to see, okay, where can I take the brain and how can I push myself creatively into this, outside of this box that I am comfortable in and seeing what can happen. And sometimes, most of the time I think we can really surprise ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I have something to try.
Try it.
Yeah.
It's fun.
I'm thinking paint by numbers. Is that what you're thinking too? No?
Yeah.
Okay. That's fine. Matt Lake is here. Get out of town.
Matt Lake.
Wait a minute.
It's our favorite dude.
The Matt Lake slide. All right. Thank you, Matt. It's great to know you're present. The field of Matt
Watching
is here. Yeah.
So Charles, so the EP, we're still working on it. Still cooking.
Working on it. Yeah. So I've recorded everything, and I'm getting it mixed and mastered. So it's pretty close. I'm confident this summer will be the time. I'm not gonna put a date on it because sometimes things happen.
What would you say the vibe is?
So
Vibe check.
I would love. I know you guys listen to the one song, but I have kind of trouble with like genrefying my own music. I don't know if a lot of people have. I feel like a lot of people have this song.
I thought equestrian when
equestrian.
I heard it.
You love horses, okay?
Or dressage, but. Definitely not Western.
Well, so like the song we'll play, I feel like is kind of jam bandy. It's given me like a little bit of a Jerry Garcia feel to it, but most of my songs are not that energy at all, really. But it's like rock, roots rock, all like a folk mixture. I want to say. And I always try and put in like a really strong hook. Like that's kind of like the main thing I really try and do is like make sure, okay, that chorus, it's gonna sound, even though it's not a pop song, it's gonna feel like stuck in your head and like you feel like you're listening to a pop song.
I think it's roots rock.
Yeah, roots rock.
Roots rock.
Yeah,
because it's a little Americana in there, and that's what I call roots rock.
And that was something I was going to mention too. I thought the chorus is super hooky on this song. So
yeah.
We Are One. That was my segue.
Oh man,
come on, man.
Get on the same page.
Anything you want to tell before we get into this? Any like kind of fun fact about the tune?
So yeah, this will be like the title track. I'm gonna call the album "We Are One." And I think mainly the song is kind of just trying to give a positive energy. There's so much division, all that stuff, and I feel like there's so many ways we can all try and get on the same page and love each other and just like enjoy life. There's so much here to enjoy. So
I love that.
That's kind of like the main.
I'm going to play it totally differently now. Put the bow away, Rex. Okay, I'm ready.
There, look, he's doing nothing.
Yeah,
he's like,
we actually have a
whatever,
dog down
man.
here.
Rex
He's
cam.
hanging out.
We do need
what I
a
mean?
Rex cam.
So it could,
Rex
it
cam.
could go to him at any moment.
Is he breathing? He's good. Okay, he's
Does then
good.
you have a mirror?
He's good.
Okay, we're good. Count it off.
All right. 1, 2, 3, 4. I wanna make you stay, 'cause there's so much more that we could do. All I have to say is take good care of your sister too. We're all part of one big family. Don't let them tell you anything differently. Yeah, we gotta live in this life peacefully, 'cause we're all part of one big family. We are one. We are one. We are one. We are one. It's so easy to complain, 'cause our mouths are dry and there's dust on you. We waited for the rain, but a flood just washed our house away. Well, we're all part of one big family. Don't let them tell you anything differently. Yeah, we gotta live in this life peacefully, 'cause we're all part of one big family. Yeah, we are one. We are one. Yeah, we are one. We are one. Don't let them know. Bring it down. Don't let them know. You gonna give us a little solo here? Yeah. Yeah, keep it going. Right back to the chorus. We are one. We are one. We are one. We are one. We are one.
That's such a fun song.
Yeah, thank y'all.
That's such a fun song.
Sorry about that, Rex.
Man.
And I love what you said too, like positive music.
Yeah. There's not always a lot of that, and I understand why. I mean, the world's not always very positive.
I
But,
get it.
you know.
I love a good sad song too, but I love a great like happy song. This is I can't wait to hear this.
Thank you.
When it's all done.
And you guys, I got to show them the rough mix, and it's got some horns on it.
Right.
It's gonna be
great.
It's gonna be a party
Yeah.
when I finally get it.
Didgeridoo. Was that
How-
didgeridoo?
No.
Okay.
But
I must
Okay,
have heard
I
something.
thought I heard that
Yeah.
too. No,
Might have been a helicopter going by or something.
maybe.
No,
We'll
it's
hear it.
great, man. It's a
thank
great
you.
song.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I appreciate you.
I think you know what I like about it is you go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a lot of times people don't go for it. I'm like, that's good. Yeah, you didn't go for it. But so as long as you go for it, I don't even care about anything else. And I think that's what happens. We were talking about this concept of writing earlier, and it's really hard to become a sideman musician, side person, and keep the writing spirit going, because if you're working for everybody all the time musically, you really become like orderly in your approach to music, and because you have to or you won't make it. But when you become orderly, you've turned into an accountant, and it's very difficult to like put the other hat on and just be like, I don't care, man, the whole thing's a feel vibe. And like that's just not. But that's what you have to do to write music.
Absolutely.
And to go for it. You have to be vulnerable. You have to be
take some chances.
Yeah, and so I think for a lot of people who are out there listening, I think one of the things that would surprise a lot of people is that most songwriters were not professional musicians prior to their career as a songwriter, meaning they weren't a side person for Michael Jackson on the Bad tour. You know what I mean?
Right.
Sheryl Crow, but other than Sheryl Crow, but you see what I'm saying? Like, and I don't know if Sheryl Crow wrote all of Sheryl Crow's songs. You know, so a lot of people were songwriters only, and they really didn't mess around with the idea of trying to do everything in music, because I think they realize it will pervert some aspect of their creative process.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like modern songs, they'll have 6 songwriters or something like that, and one of them will be the artist. Because they got wise.
Well, they got drinks for people while they were talking.
They got wise to if they're gonna put their say and make sure it's about them and their experience,
right?
Then they should have a little say in that. And if they're in the room, then that makes sense. Yeah. But yeah, back in the day when you'd have one writer for a song, it kind of that's how most of my songs are. It's just me writing it. I don't do too many co-writes. I do like writing with other people. Just kind of sometimes it's you get your zone and you kind of just knock it out.
That's how I am too.
Yeah,
I get in that zone and just
when you do sort of what you'll be able to do well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So and I think if somebody's going to reach out and try to do something they don't do well, that's where it really takes a lot from them. They start to realize how big of an investment it is.
Right.
Like if we're picturing like Jolene or something like that, right? Like it's a storytelling song, it's a vulnerable song. And we're talking about somebody who's not saying I'm going to go beat up the person that's cheating on my partner.
Yeah.
With it's more like please
don't do this.
Yeah, and it's in storytelling format, and it's right in her range, and it's everything's exactly where it fits for her as an artist at that time, and so it's a representation of the person.
Grass is Blue, I think, is another really beautiful.
Oh my
man,
God,
that song
amazing.
Oof.
It's really, really so.
Yeah.
I always bring up Dolly when I start talking about songwriting. So let's just move on, and I'm gonna get
she's pretty fabulous. She is phenomenal. She is phenomenal.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to Joni next, but it's like Carole King. But it's as soon as we start doing this, it's like you start to see the person in the song. You know what I mean? And when you talk about professional musicians, you don't always see the people. You see maybe a really good song, but you don't see the person in it, right?
And then there's the guitar players or musicians who you can always tell when it's them on a record.
Eric Johnson, Slash.
Yeah, you're like, okay.
We can just start naming people off where
no
one,
Big
still
time.
to this day, I don't know. Maybe if someone devotes their whole life to playing like Slash, exactly like Slash, maybe they'll be able to do it. I don't know. But it'd be a weird thing to do.
Yeah.
'Cause his nuances are just way out there. So suffice it to say, that's why I liked it, was because that was a really long explanation.
It's great. It's hooky.
You can put your cigarettes out.
Tell us a little bit more about Ryan Hahn and the Believers.
Oh yeah. So I mean, speaking of being a sideman, I've played guitar with Ryan Hahn for 6 years probably now. We put out one EP that was all home produced. Like me and my brother did all the recording out of a rehearsal studio in our apartment and things like that, and just really DIY.
Yeah.
And this one is called From the Country to the Concrete, because he's from Kentucky and moved to LA. And this one is definitely more professional. Like we recorded at Robbie Krieger's studio, which was really awesome. We got to meet him, and we actually got to opened for him at the Whiskey, which was really
For anybody who doesn't know
insane.
who Robbie Krieger is, go ahead.
Yeah, the guitar player from none other than the Doors.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Little known band.
Little known
Yeah.
LA band
LA
at the
band.
Whiskey. They
couple of people heard
they
of it.
like lived at the Whiskey basically, you know. So
The who's? The what's?
the what?
Yeah.
The Windows. No.
Yes, the Windows.
Yeah, so it was a really cool experience, and they had he had a bunch of his old guitars. I got to play his 335.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Which was pretty cool. And this pink paisley telly, which was like really, really rad to play.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really cool. And yeah, and so we've been playing forever now. It feels like, and it's a little 6-song EP. And yeah, it's also more like along the alt country roots rock kind of vibe. And we do a monthly night at the Silver Lake Lounge in LA. He calls it the Small Town Friday Nights.
Nice.
Which it's a reference that because I'm not a huge country music person, I don't know. It's a reference to some song.
Friday Night Lights.
I don't think so.
That was
That's
a great
definitely-
show / movie.
Yeah. Could it be that?
No,
No.
it's a country song. Ryan's gonna hate me if he
We
watches
can make one
this
up right
and,
now if you want. But
anyone
it's
knows out
Small
there.
Town, what was it?
Small Town Friday Night.
I don't think I know it.
I don't know. It's like Tom Anderson or something like that. But
Tom Anderson.
but either way, yeah. So it's like a little like country, local
Yeah.
LA local country night essentially, and it's like it turns out to be more rockin' than just straight ahead country. So that's fun
great.
for me as a rocker.
Where can folks find Ryan on the Believers and you on social media?
So I'm at Listen Charles on Spotify. I mean, not Spotify, on Instagram. Soon to be on Spotify, I swear. No, Listen Charles is my handle, and then Ryan on the Believers is the handle for Ryan, and our EP under that same artist name on Spotify. From the Country to the Concrete is the name of that EP. And yeah, it's really fun. We actually just took a trip down to Kentucky and Nashville a week and a half ago, and did a little 3-4 shows down there. We were able to get on a radio, Lightning 100, which is like their local indie, and did like a little acoustic set and played at a couple cool places. This place called Kimbro's, which was
I love Kimbro's.
Yeah, it was
love,
really awesome.
love Kimbro's.
It was that place is insane. They have like these little rooms where they have just like piano and like people just go there and jam on the porch, and then they have like a stage in the back that we.
My
got to
buddy,
play.
did you run into Jake Berman? You're there.
Yeah, Jake is.
Yeah,
who we played
Jake
with.
is a buddy of mine. He is good people.
Dude, Jake
Yeah.
is so cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's awesome.
He played
Yeah.
one of the nights at the Silver Lake Lounge with us when he was visiting LA.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Small world, isn't
Yeah,
it?
uh-huh.
That is so.
I knew
cool.
this would happen with somebody.
That is so cool. Yeah, Jake's good people. When I'm in Nashville, I'm gonna be playing down there too.
Yeah,
At Kimbro's.
Kimbro's.
Such a great
It was
spot.
cool, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really
That's a good
fun.
hang.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the like secret sort of mega spots of Nashville.
Right, because it's like outside of Nashville proper. It's in
Exactly.
Franklin, actually.
Yeah.
So it's like, but yeah, it was cool. It felt like a cool little home.
That's
that you're
so
jamming
lovely.
at.
I think
That's
a lot of,
yeah,
probably a
I
lot
love
of
it there.
famous things have come out of Kimbro's too that
Yeah.
that people aren't aware of.
Oh, yeah,
like
sure.
collaborations and artists meeting artists and so on and so forth. So it's actually a pretty big deal place.
I mean, their handle is the legendary Kimbro's.
Yeah,
so
I think so.
They're not. They're aware clearly.
Yeah.
It's a fun spot. So yeah, I mean, anybody who goes to Nashville, like definitely take the trip down there and
Yeah.
and go and check it out. Oh, there was a question. It's gone.
Oh, there it is.
And folks, again, if you guys have questions for Charlie, please put them in the comments.
Yeah, please.
And yeah, this has been so fun. It's been so nice, like learning about you and playing your music. This has been so great.
Thanks.
We got Jonathan here. How do you keep yourself from unconsciously imitating stuff you hear? Do you go on a listening diet while you write? Ooh, that's a good double-headed question. I
Yeah.
love that.
I think I don't know. I think I'm of the opposite opinion. I think the more the better. I think the way to get around it is to put so much music in there that it all is just a glob, and you don't pick just one, because that way you're imitating 7 different things all at the same time, and then it becomes yours.
The
Right.
glob approach.
Yeah,
It's well known.
glob
glob.
is the actual.
I think you gotta trademark that.
professional, glob. That's the AI question that was there too.
Yeah.
It's called the glob. I
Yeah.
invented it. It's called AI songwriting. And
Right.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I don't think it's possible. actually.
AI songwriting?
No. No, I think unfortunately that's to not imitate stuff you hear. I think it's
that's part of it.
It's almost like it's intrinsic in making any music at all. Pretty much, you're going to be imitating.
Isn't there?
You take bits from those that absolutely inspire you.
Yeah.
And then you hope that when it goes through you, it sounds like you.
Totally.
You know,
that's
while
it.
tipping the hat to them,
right.
Of course.
Because if you want to be if you really want to try not to imitate, you're going to make something that's very unfamiliar to people and even to yourself.
Right.
Right. And so you're going to have to really change your understanding of music to begin with, and how you want to represent yourself as a musician and an artist. And so it's at best, I mean, from every corner, formally to the way we play a chord, to what we play it on, the way it sounds when we play it, it's all influenced just like when we learn how to speak English as a child. Like it's so intrinsic to us imitating. It's so intrinsic to the process that we're not even aware of it, how intrinsic it is.
Who are some of your favorite songwriters?
Oh, that's a good question. I know you guys were talking about Jason Isbell last time.
Oh yes, he's one of mine.
He's been a killer for me recently.
We have a Heartthrob poster that's right behind.
Yeah, we actually no.
He's actually here right now, everyone.
Ladies and gentlemen.
No, but Carole King, I jump all over, because
it's great.
It kind of depends. It kind of depends what mood I'm in, because no one ever really talks about grunge or like hard rock when they're saying, "Oh, my favorite songwriter." We do
actually all the time.
You're like,
oh yeah, just earlier today.
We do it constantly,
specifically for songwriting.
Yeah,
Chris Cornell is one of my favorites.
Exactly, Chris Cornell. That's what I'm saying. Like
absolutely,
his words are not. I mean, everyone. His voice is obviously next level, once in generation type voice. But he was like, I always would read his lyrics when I was learning that music growing up, because it was so unique. It wasn't just like, hey, I love you and I want to hold your hand. Cool, great. That's a pop song.
Or girls.
Yeah.
It wasn't that either. It was coming out of a completely...
No, he had a dark soul, or Amy Winehouse. I was just... have you heard of this podcast called Pop Pantheon? Have you heard of this? My girlfriend was putting me onto it, and they kind of deep dive into a specific artist, and they go all into all their songs, and they were just talking about how funny her some of her lyrics are. She kind of so demeaning, self-depreciating.
She was
a little bit.
really nasty too.
Yeah.
And I don't mean nasty. She was just nasty in the sense that her lyrics were hardcore. They were mean
and nothing but the truth.
Exactly.
Maybe even more exaggerated than the truth.
It makes me think of that song, What Is It About Man? Have you heard that one?
Yeah.
The live version in particular.
Oh, really?
The live version of it. Oh, go and listen to it. It is so good. Just the vibe of the song and the way that she is singing it.
Yeah.
And the story behind it is incredibly heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Great song.
Well, this brings up an interesting concept, you guys. So, and as the songwriters that are here, I am a complete sellout, so I really have no conversations here. And I was born during the Renaissance, as we discussed, so I really don't even know what time it is. But
what is this thing?
Yeah, what is this thing? Electricity. So I think but when you're looking at songwriting and songwriters and artists, I think one of the reasons that pain is such a big part of that concept is that it's a way to transmute pain, right? It's a way to kind of identify trauma and pain and all the other terminology that describes that. And it's almost intrinsic to it. That's why when somebody writes positive music, it's so interesting, because it's more than just saying this is what happened. It's more like saying this is what I want to happen, because so often pain is what happened, and positivity is what I want to happen. But go ahead. I'd love to hear you guys' take on that.
Yeah, I mean, speaking about positive music, yeah, I mean, there's part of it that's trying to gloss over the more terrible parts of where your brain can go, but like you're saying, I think it's also taking a step back and saying, okay, if I'm looking at the world as it is, and whatever maybe situation in your life it is, how can I reimagine that into a way that makes me feel better about it?
Yeah.
But I feel like it's not like it's easier to write a sad song, but like they can flow if you're in a mindset and you're like really overcome by some sort of grief. Like maybe somebody is going through like you had someone, you know, who committed suicide in your family, and that can like take you into this whole terrible dark place, and then you sit there and you're like just kind of like trying to figure out a way to get through it, and you write like a song that's really heartfelt, and you're not going to make a positive song necessarily about that. Maybe there's a positive message at the end that you're trying, but like your kind of go-to is going to be, okay, I am way in my head and just going to pour my heart out and try and make the listener cry. If I can.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, in the case of Amy Winehouse, it was sexual abuse that led to an incredibly terrible core belief that led to ultimately to alcoholism, drug addiction, and death. Yeah. And that, like, that, you know, I mean, I know that's a downer, but it's like that's the reality of that situation for a lot of people, is that a lot of these decisions that are made with those kind of concepts in the background and those types of reflections on what happened to one during life affecting their behavior, you know. So, but it's hard not to let that overtake you as an artist. I think for a lot of people, it's hard not to be I mean, we just discussed 2 people in a row who died way too soon.
Yeah.
Way too soon. And it's something for us to really look at as musicians, as a group, is like, you know, this is an epidemic of us sharing art and then paying the ultimate price for it in some senses.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, like maybe it's the type of person that, you know, that becomes an artist is somebody who's going to be really analytical and hard on themselves. Maybe that's just like a person type. I don't know. It's hard to say though. Yeah, it does seem to happen a lot more than the general population.
What's your take, Angela?
At least like from my perspective in writing, I almost feel like the songs escape.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I wrote a song called Ghost Inside a Frame, and the basis, the foundation of it was about, you know, my dear friend who I was in a band with who died. And looking back, that was a very stream of consciousness. The lyrics, you know, I wrote them in like 5 minutes. And I looked back and, you know, when I initially wrote it, I'm like, oh yeah, this is the foundation of it is about her, but oh my God, like this line was so about my grandfather. And oh yeah, this line was about this thing when I was, you know, talking to someone else who was dealing with grief. I feel like songs escape. And to me, that it was such a beautiful thing. Like that was so a way for me to grieve, was in writing that song.
Mm-hmm.
And a beautiful thing now that I'm seeing as the song has been released and the music video is out, and, you know, in some sense, I feel like it's not, you know, I wrote it and now everyone else, you know, it's kind of your song now.
Right.
To see how that song helps people, even though it's a sad song and it came from something that was incredibly difficult, from a very, very difficult part of my life. And to see how people are like, yes, I feel that too. Thank you for finding the words. Like I had someone say that to me, like, thank you for finding the words. Whoa. Like it's our duty as artists to share where we come from and the things we are feeling. And we have such a gift that we can make music from this thing. Mm-hmm. And to give words to something that maybe some people can't. Like what a gift that is, that we can do that.
Yeah.
I agree.
Oh gosh.
I don't know if, so I don't know what page it's on. So actually a guitar player recently did, oh, look at that. It jumped right to it. Did like an expose on
that's so cool.
Angela's album, and they discussed the song.
Yeah. We talked about it a little bit.
Mm-hmm. And if you guys are out there, go check it out. This is which issue is this? This
July
is
2023.
July 2020. That's relevant.
Yeah.
So it's the David Gilmour shoot.
There it is. Yeah.
Check it out.
No,
that was cool.
I mean, as
cool.
downer as that is, it's like it's something to be mentioned because it's something I think about. It's something I want to caution students. I work with like a wide, you know, swath of young people who I don't want them to destroy their lives, I guess, maybe, you know, in the name of art, if you will.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a puzzle to figure out.
We all have our different journeys.
Yeah.
And I think really surrounding yourself with really good people that you can feel comfortable talking to.
Yeah.
Is so important. I know for me, when I was dealing with that with when Jenny died and we had just released an album, we were written up in Rolling Stone and she died the next day.
Right.
And it was like okay, all this stuff, it's like I lost my friend, I lost my sister, this thing
in life.
It was really hard. It was those first 6 months were incredibly difficult.
Yeah, because you have a whole plan.
And I'm so thankful, like I had friends like you and just this wonderful community of people that are there to like lift you. It's like, hey man, I'm at like 20% right now.
Yeah.
And having friends being like, I can cover the other 80.
Yeah.
Right.
And this didn't help me at the time. Like I couldn't even really play it because I was reminded of everything, and just having that support system and like making sure to really surround yourself with good people as an artist, I think even more so is just so incredibly important.
That's why a positive song is just it's really quite unique. It's just not that, it's not that common.
Definitely rare.
You know what I mean? Even like the stuff Poison, Nothing But a Good Time. I'm not sure that's all they were talking about. There may have been a little coca involved in that. I'm just joking. But I'm sorry. Sorry about that. Daniel, can you blurb that? Is it too late?
Too late.
All right. Okay. Anyways. But, well, hey, can we give Angela a round of applause as guest host here? I mean, bang up job. Bang her. Go ahead, audience. Let it out.
We miss you, Eugene. I am so honored to be here. And it's
great job.
I was telling Charlie, like, Dylan, I was like, Dylan's one of my favorite people to like riff off of.
Totally reasonable.
It's so fun. It's so fun. Rex, like, me too. Yeah. Me too. Yeah. We know you're here. We know. Look at him wag his little tail.
And thank you to Charlie for being here as well. And sharing
thank you for having me. Man.
This is great.
Yeah.
This is fun.
And
bring the family back together.
We want to thank all of you guys for watching, and make sure you leave all of your comments, especially the ultra positive ones, in the comments there, and then check out our Patreon. Check out, stay tuned, because when Charlie does release his EP, we'll promote it like it's hot.
Yeah.
And of course, there's the voices by Angela Petrilli, and
check
for tax purposes, I'm not even here. So, and we also want to thank Daniel for working the phones for us. Daniel, wonderful job as always, sir.
Daniel.
Sure thing.
And we're gonna play it out. We're gonna take it on the chorus of your song. You ready?
Okay, sure, yeah.
Take it on the chorus.
3, 4.